How we doing, everybody? Tip of the cap. Thanks for being here. Uh, Pleased to update you that the world is still currently burning. Everything remains on fire. Everything is stupid. Uh, they play they play very creepazoid things on CBS last night. The world entirely is dumb. Tick snap is where logic and reason go to die, and sadness spreads around the world. Quite literally, tick snap is the toxic dumpster behind the local middle school. Literally, all things are stupid. Thanks so much for being here. The world, like I said, remains on fire. I wanted to talk a little bit about the state of the garbage tomorrow, the state of the union trash. We're going to suffer through it together. I'm going to be live on Instagram. I'm going to be zoodling. I'm going to be noodling. I'm going to be clapping cheeks. So like soften up your grundle, because I'm going to park my truck in there and everything's stupid. Listen. I heard a really interesting thing today on the Peter Schiff Show podcast that I wanted to share with you before talking about the state of the garbage tomorrow. So before I get started, please make sure that you check out the show and leave a rating after. This is going to be live on my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of the places. After this, it can be viewed forever. It'll be on my Rumble, Getter, all that stuff. Be sure to leave a review at bobbysauceshow.com. I'm wearing the Secret Sauce Society shirt from bobbysauce.com and the based white flex fit hat. So thanks for checking it out, and I appreciate you being here. Everything's dumb. So I wanted to start by talking about this thing I heard on the Peter Schiff Show podcast today, where it talks about why, generally speaking, leftists and the Democratic Party is so adamant to err on the side of what people believe to be the marginalized groups, and specifically African American people, because they look at them purely as a voting bloc and not as actual people, and not as anybody that they intend to actually help, which is quite sad. And I think Peter Schiff said it pretty well, and I wanted to reiterate it here because I think it's pretty poignant and accurate. What he basically said is that, the Democrat Party, for the most part, wants people of color to believe that there's this very unjust, very bad, very evil system that oppresses them and oppresses them only. And that the only way that they can succeed in this oppressive environment is for them to elect those Democratic supposed leaders and then allow them to fix and or right the wrongs of any past administration and any past injustice that was put on by this theoretical system. And every single thing that the right or that the Republican Party does is the opposite of their interests. It's just the party of the rich, because they don't believe that any people of color can be rich. It's the party of the elitists, because they believe that a person of color is not smart enough to obtain a driver's license or an ID. So having an ID when you go and vote is very racist. And what they want you to do is they want you to believe that you are a victim, that the world is out to get you, the police are out to get you, the structure's out to get you, the politicians are out to get you, the system, as it were, including all of the banks, are all out to get you, and the only person that can save you is Big Daddy government, specifically the Democratic candidate for leading the governmental body. And that's the lie that they sell. And every single year, or every 4 years, or every 2 years, they come around promising the world, we're going to fix systemic this, and we're going to fix the justice system, and we're going to fix the policing system, and we're going to fix all of these systems that are specifically out to get you. But what people don't realize is that a lot of those problems were originally created by the government itself. The government itself creates the systems that are sometimes created with good intention, that often backfire and end up hurting the people in the lower and middle class the most, for example, or all of the time. So, for example, One thing that is not commonly talked about is how in the wake of the G. Floyd situation in, I believe, 2020 or 2021 or whatever it was, police officers around the country didn't want to enforce traffic violations. Specifically, they were nervous to go and enforce these traffic violations as to be labeled as a racist, or it was racially motivated why you pulled this person over. As a result, they pulled over a lot less people of color and enforced these traffic infractions. And what happened as a result of that is a lot more people of color died in car accidents over the course of that year as a result, and one of the collateral damages of not doing their job. Other situations like what happened in Memphis with this Scorpion unit. They basically create this diversity hire where they lower the requirements necessary for somebody to be put onto this police force. And as a result, you get untrained people that are not doing the job very well. And then they come in and obviously a horrible thing happens as a result of it. So these are just a few of many examples as to why the government does a really bad job of following through on its promises. And they will continuously gaslight you and lie right to your face and just emotionally manipulate you to believe that any Republican and or conservative and or you keeping your own power, your own freedom, your own rights, your own money, your own property, whatever, anyone that enforces that represents this bad, evil, elitist class. And then everybody that will save you, because only you can only be saved by the government, typically comes from the left, comes from the blue team, and they're here to save you and rescue you from this oppressive government. Quite sad. Now, I wanted to talk about the State of the Union tomorrow, because it's going to be a hilarious time. And I wanted to just make a couple of predictions about things that are going to be talked to during the State of the Union tomorrow. The first one, and I believe the most obvious one, is that they're going to say that the economy is incredibly strong. And Slow Byron is gonna hop out of the shower with his daughter, and he's going to jump up on the stage, and they're going to hit him with a bunch of steroid injections, probably into his dirt star, so he'll be pepped up. His eyes will be big. His earlobes will be disconnected or connected. Who's really to know? He'll be wearing his meat suit, etc. And he's going to come out, and he's going to go, "The economy is strong. We have the lowest unemployment since 1421. And they lie with statistics for things like this specifically by basically saying, hey, look, there's all these new jobs, not factoring in the fact that a lot of these jobs are hospitality jobs. A lot of these jobs are part-time jobs. A lot of these jobs are not as good as the jobs that these people potentially had before. So you replace a high-paying salary job now with you have two part-time jobs. That's a loss of a job and a gain of two jobs. And instead of telling you the truth or being realistic or people actually understanding how economics, business, and money works, they just lie to you and say the economy is strong. So many jobs. There's just so many jobs. When anybody with a half of an Ojo or a singular brain wrinkle can see that a lot of the big tech companies, for example, are firing all these people. They're preparing for this massive economic downturn, which we arguably are already in right now. So they're going to cite this jobs report. And this jobs report that just came out said that we supposedly gained 500,000 jobs or whatever. And then everybody on the right is basically saying, well, it was adjusted seasonally. 3 million jobs were added to this report as this seasonal adjustment to account for the ebbs and flows of how the job market runs over the course of the year. And then naturally, the leftist bought and paid for media that's run by a small group of 10 or 20 different families that own the vast majority of the shares in all these media institutions, your Forbes, your Bloombergs, and all of the like. They come in and they say, don't believe the extremist right wing. They're suggesting that the jobs are actually bad. And any person knows that, like, First of all, the inflation is so high that the amount of money that you're getting paid is not raising commensurate to the amount you're getting, is not raising commensurate to the rate of inflation. So even if you might be getting a raise, if you're not getting a 7% raise, you're losing money. A lot of people they're firing the lower tier workers, and it's making more work for the people that do have a job, and they got to be thankful that they have a job, so they have to keep that job. So they might be working a little bit longer, a little bit harder, or whatever, especially salaried positions. And then you have all of these part-time workers, which it's like, oh, it's so many new jobs, and they're just like a waitress, a waiter, a wait staff, room service at a hotel, or bartender, stuff like that. But they don't care because they think jobs are dumb. And everybody knows that your rent's going up, your homeowner's insurance is going up, your car lease is going up, the amount of interest that you're paying on your variable loans is going up, your credit card debt is up, your household savings is down. But they will come out tomorrow and Joe Biden will tell you that the state of the economy is strong and we're doing so well. And employment is down and new jobs, and people are going to love it. I predict that Brittany Griner will be there. That is a prediction of mine. I believe that if either Brittany Griner will be there or she will be mentioned to or she will be alluded to in some way, shape, or form at the State of the Union tomorrow. I predict that the family of Tyree Nichols will be there with absolute certainty because, again, the main objective is if you represent or are part of a supposed marginalized group, if you are a person of color, the system is broken. The system is out to get you, no matter who you are or where you are. It doesn't matter. When you wake up in the morning, you're being hunted by the police, apparently. You're being hunted by other members of society, and you are not safe unless you vote for a Democrat. Unless you vote Democrat, you will never be safe because we're going to change the system. And because everybody is clueless and they haven't figured out how to look 3 feet behind them, they forgot that slow Byron, hide your kids, your son sniffs the palm, like, why are you in the shower with your daughter? This allegedly human person has been in politics for over 40 years. And while this person was a state representative, a senator, was the vice president of the United States, was the second most powerful person on the entire planet for 8 years, somehow this guy now at 80 years old, when he can barely figure out how to walk up the stairs or figure out how to mumble his way through a choco chip ice cream cone, this guy apparently in the ninth inning with 2 outs and he forgot the bat in the dugout is going to somehow solve all of the inequities that have come upon you and your family since the dawn of time. He's going to do it now, guys. He didn't do it the last 44 years, but he's got you now, fam. Sorry about all that stuff with the prison. Sorry about all that prison stuff in the 90s. Sorry about that. Sorry about calling you animals and stuff. I don't want my kids in the jungle, supposedly. Quote by Slow Byron, hide the kids. Your son sniffs the palm. Why does he spit through a straw? That dude is corrupt. Anyhow, obtain a firearm illegally on a form, committed a felony. But whatever. But but no. Slow Byron's going to do it, guys. Don't worry. Just choose him this time. Just vote for Joe. Just vote for Joe and vote for Krusty the Clown Harris, and all of your police inequities will be reformed. Even though Kamala Krusty Harris, the person that allegedly alluded to Slow Byron being a literal racist while they were both running for office, running for the presidency, even though she suggested that Joe was a racist, and is now the vice president of the United States. As soon as she became the vice president, he's old slow Joe, and he'll tickle your bag and rub your back and put a Werther's original directly into your meat bag, and just bend over, because he's going to fix police reform. Don't worry, guys. Oh, and by the way, this was a systemic reason with Tyree Nichols, because even though all of the officers looked like Tyree Nichols, even though they were put there because of this supposed equity, supposedly this equity agenda, this is, as long as we get people that look like the people to run the streets, then it'll all be equal. Even though they created that, the police chief is a woman, person of color. All 5 officers were people of color. Even though that's the case, it's the system. Got it. Forgot about that. If every single person in the Memphis Police Department was of the same color as Tyree Nichols, they would have been like, yep, it's systemic. It's Supremes, guys. Don't worry, guys. It's Supremes. Vote for Joe. Because that's how it works. They think you're dumb. They think you're too dumb to figure out how to get a driver's license. They think you're too dumb to figure out what's going on right in front of your face. They think you're too dumb to realize anything. And then every 4 years, some beanbag comes wandering through your drug-addled, crime-ridden corner of the city and is like, vote for me and I'll fix it all. And even if you vote a person that looks like you, they'll punch you right in the face with it no matter what. Look at the mayor of New Orleans. Look at the mayor of Chicago. Look at all these supposedly marginalized people that are openly racist, like Lori Littlehead. She's in Chicago and she's like, I'm not going to take an interview. I'm not going to take an interview from a person that doesn't look like me. So it's like, you can be openly racist against people that are white. No problem. And even when things that are so obvious happen clear as day in plain sight, they still don't seem to understand that these people are wolves in sheep's clothing, and they are your enemies, and they're only coming around to get your vote because they only look at you as a voting block and not as an actual human group of people. And they think you're dumb. It's sad I don't make the rules, but that's just the truth. And then the other thing is that they think that you won't look into it. And they think that any person can be easily persuaded to not come over to their side of the aisle because you're a victim. You don't understand. And they love preying on people that don't pay attention. It's kind of like their whole basis of anything. So again, I think Tyree Nichols' family will be there for the State of the Union. I think Brittany Griner will be mentioned at some point. I think Slow Byron will talk about how the economy is good, and I think that jobs, specifically the economy and jobs, will be the primary focus because they got this explosive jobs report that nobody's going to look into what it actually means. So the unemployment rate is going to be there, and the jobs report is going to be there as well. The other thing that they're going to talk about, I'm predicting, is that they're going to talk about the spy balloon and how they handled it so well. And of course, Pete Buttigieg is going to stand on his chair and clap. And then once he stands on the chair, he'll amount to about 5'2.5" and everyone will applaud him because he's from a marginalized group. He just got done breastfeeding, and everyone will be very happy for Pete. But even though there's all of these issues, even though there's all of these obvious things that have gone wrong, they will come out and they will say, everything is fine. Don't worry about it. Don't pay attention. So that's going to be great. I do think that we're going to hear more MAGA extremism talk. There's going to be a lot more mentioning of MAGA extremists and how they're subverting our democracy. I do believe that he will also mention the crane. I believe he will mention the crane multiple times. And I think specifically what he'll be talking about when he references the crane is he'll be talking about how it's been so great that we've been helping them and we sent them $100 billion, and that $100 billion has them winning the supposed fight, winning the supposed battle. Where the truth of that situation is we essentially ushered in regime change there. We were the ones that essentially created this powder keg initially. We're the ones that have been stoking and igniting this. And no, not everybody that disagrees with you about this is a Putin apologist or whatever. So they're going to talk about Prezi green sweatshirt. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Prezi sweatshirt comes in and has like a 5-minute cameo on Zoom while he's doing the State of the Union. He'd be like, "Thank you for the investment." And then BlackRock like somersaults in and gives him $10 billion. And yeah, there's definitely nothing weird going on there. I do think that he's going to say that the mysterious sickness is we're not out of the weeds yet, guys. Don't get too comfortable. I think he's going to talk about that. I think he's going to say it's important for you to go and get that sweet, sweet juice. I do predict the juice will come up. I think he's going to say, we've done a really great job and such and such and such. And he's going to find Albert Bourla's Pen 15 and bury it in the back of his throat where everybody likes to place it. So that'll be fun. But I do think he's going to talk about the mysterious potion for sure. I would be surprised if he doesn't mention the Philadelphia Eagles. He married a Philly girl after all, right? I married an Italian man's daughter, whatever. I do think I would be surprised if there was not some alluding to or mentioning of the Philadelphia Eagles, even though it's not related to the State of the Union. I feel like that might come up. My wife's a Philly girl, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens to make its appearance there. Because again, he wants to be relatable, right? He's just Grandpa Joe. He's just bouncing you on his knee. I do think Dr. Jilly will be there. Obviously, of course, she'll be there, but I predict that her dress will be blue. I believe that it will have yellow flowers on it. I think it's going to be that same one that she's worn a ton of times. I'm predicting Grandma's drapes, blue dress, yellow flower style. That's my prediction. It's going to be loud. It's going to be very loud. It's going to be long, and it will be unattractive and unappealing. And 0 people on the earth will be like, wow, that's a nice dress. So that'll be good. I anticipate that Alexandria Ocasio Chick-fil-A and all of the other members of the Demon Squad will be there, probably wearing all the same color something or other. She'll make an ice shaker full of Moscow mules before the event, because that's basically the only thing she's been good at. And I do predict that Rashida Tlaib will be crying just because she'll be squirreling and squealing and crying, and they'll say, "Sis, you deserve that," or whatever. Some type of squealing will occur. Some type of squealing for certain. I predict there will be way too much clapping because it's garbage and no one wants to clap for them. And let's all try not to forget that both sides of the aisle are primarily and majority demons, and they are not interested in anything that you have to say or your safety or well-being, or really just anything having to do with you just at all. So it's going to be really fun. I do predict that it will be shorter than normal State of the Unions. I predict it maybe a 35 to 40 minute, unless they clap it longer than it should be, hour at the most. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe is wearing a crane pin. Just going to throw that out there. I do predict that Joe will say "not a joke" at least 5 times. I predict at least 5 "not a joke." At least 5 not a jokes. I do believe that he's going to bring up his dad at least 3 times, and perhaps his mom maybe once. He's going to bring up, if history has been any guide, he's going to misspell or mispronounce somebody's name. Somebody's name will be misspelled or mispronounced. Definitely Kamala, perhaps, is probably my vote. Kamala. I'm just predicting that. I think he will also mispronounce someone else's name. He'll say like Tyrell Nichols or something like that. You know how Joe does it. He will definitely bring up Scranton. I predict at least one bringing up of Scranton and or Claymont, Delaware, or how he's a union guy. Union guy. I do predict some type of union reference. And it'll be dumb. And I predict that all of the octogenarian demons in the audience that either have a D or an R in front of their name will proceed to laugh and smile and clap, and then they'll go insider trade and basically try to destroy your life. Oh yeah, John Fetterbeef is going to be there, so that's going to be fun. He's not going to know what's going on. I do anticipate that will be a fun thing to witness as well. I think that he's also going to say that gas prices are coming down and that inflation is coming down, which is such an awesome thing to say when you are partly, if not wholly, responsible for lifting the prices of those things in the first place. But I do think that he's going to bring up Putin at least once or twice as well. So yeah, it should be good. So now I want to jump into the comments and whatnot and read what some of you guys are saying. I'm sure things are getting spicy and Donnie's getting brought up on the tick snap. I do anticipate that will be happening. I have been having a lot of fun debating people and jumping into debates on TikTok lately, but I did realize something very important. If anybody feels inclined to jump into TikTok debates, I learned something very important, that it doesn't matter what position you have in a TikTok debate. It doesn't matter if you're right or if your points are based on logic or reason or just like objective reality or life experience or anything that you know or other people agree to be true. Because when people create these TikTok debates, what they do is they let people in that disagree with them. They mute them and then gaslight them right to their face. They accuse them of doing the exact same thing that they're doing, and then they boot them out. And then they ask for people to donate to their Venmo and keep the channel going, which I get it, get that paper. I understand that. But then the people that are in the comments that suggest anything other than the pre-approved narrative put on by the snarky seed oil laced host are typically muted from the chat immediately. They have moderators that are in the chat that love muting people that disagree with them. So it's a really toxic, just hellhole, hellscape. It's just really where good things go to die. So I probably will not be engaging in too many more TikTok debates because it's really just a trash fire and it's really just garbage. Somebody said to not forget to mention Donnie, not forget to mention Joe's hairy legs. I do predict that Corn Pop will come up tomorrow. That'll be great. Steven on Facebook says, I predict he will say MAGA Republicans 6 times. I agree. I think that's highly probable. Tick snap is cringe. Yeah, I agree. It's very cringe. It's very toxic. It's not ideal. It's basically the least. It's basically the least valuable place on the actual internet. I got in a debate with some people that had helped their kids turn from Joe to Jane or Jane to Joe or whatever. And I was trying to debate them with logic and reason. And as soon as I started getting somewhere, some guy that was like brimming with seed oils, like somersaulted out of a bush. And he was like, I'm in the medical community. And he had like a scraggly goatee and like scraggly hair. And he just like scraggled in and was like, no. He's like, are you a doctor? And then they banned me from the chat. So that was cool. I was like, all right, great. I was like, this seems fine and fun. Thank you, Chelly Girl, for sharing the TikTok live. Appreciate that. But yeah, like, again, I think that all of this stuff that they've been doing is such a complete distraction game. It's like the only thing that they're doing, and I think Anomaly said it best, where it's just like the Chinese spy balloon, for example, is like a cat with a laser pointer. They want us paying attention to the least significant, least important stories of the day, of the month, of the year, while completely overshadowing the most significant stories and all of the things that actually matter. Which is like, we are sending $100 billion plus of money to a historically corrupt country, which we have participated in changing up its political forces. People are making this guy out to be a hero and lying about what's going on there. We're sending them tanks that will take over a year or whatever to even get there. It's like, we're going to be in this supposed war for years and years and years. And it's quite sad, to say the least, because there's so many people here that would benefit as a result of all of that money. But instead, they just gaslight you to your face in like places like New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, New Orleans. The crime is off the charts. the police brutality that they're supposedly fixing is not being fixed. Their best solution is that, oh, we have to burn the system down. You have to call somebody someone's having an emotional or an emotional breakdown or whatever. And it's like, I want to make it really clear. If you're having a mental health breakdown and you say that you should call like a social worker or something instead of calling an armed police officer, people need to understand that a human person that's having a mental health crisis could be on some type of drugs, for example. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but they could be on drugs, which would make them very violent, very erratic, and in a lot of cases have superhuman strength. A social worker is probably not going to be a 6'4" jacked dude. It's probably going to be a 5'4", 120-pound woman. Maybe not, but it's likely, right? So you send a woman into that situation. Who's going to protect the woman? Who's going to protect the person that's there? You're telling me that you're going to get a police call? Hey, my son is having a mental health breakdown. You know, he's got a knife in his hand, and you're going to send an unarmed person out there? It's like, sorry, but if you're having a mental health breakdown and you have a deadly weapon, sorry, you're about to get tased, my guy. And if you point it at somebody, you're about to get popped, dude. Like, sorry, but sorry. If you got a knife in your hand, you're probably going to get popped. And it's like, you can't just say they're having a mental health breakdown and be like, whoa, it's a mental health breakdown. Because again, people like Benjamin Crumpets, the most widely known grifter in America, they lie to their supposed community who they purport to represent, and they say, oh, this is because of systemic whatever. This is because the police officer saw their color and they made this decision as a result. And he gaslights you, and then he weaponizes that outrage that he stirs up online amongst his community. And then they say that, and then they basically shake down the police department, and in a lot of ways shake down the taxpayer to say, you got to pay this amount. So no matter what happens, justified or unjustified, Benjamin Crumpets somersaults out of a bush and he tries to shake you down by saying that you're a racist. And these governments, these police departments, they all just pay to have it go away. And as a result, he's creating more racial divide needlessly. And he's creating more violence and more distrust. And he's not just highlighting these bad actors and bringing it to the limelight. He's securing the bag. And every single one of these instances, for the vast majority of the time, it's just Benjamin Crumpets securing the bag. That's all he does. A shot rings out. He looks at the race of the person, and then he comes running with his purse open. Because Benjamin Crumpets is a liar. He is a total grifting liar. I saw a live stream he was doing the other day where this woman is suing Florida, mid-Florida credit union or something because she put her money in the ATM. And I don't know every detail of the story, but this is like the loose overview. She put her money in the ATM, I guess, to pay her mortgage payment. And she put it in the ATM and it didn't register that the money was in there. So I guess she goes into the branch. She says, I just put my money into the ATM and it's not showing up. And I guess some time elapsed and they were like, all right, like we'll fix it. You know, we'll get back to you. And I guess by the following day, they hadn't put this money in her account in this ATM. And Benjamin Crumpets and this woman are suggesting that it was because of her race. I used to work at a bank, and I can tell you that the vast majority, if not every ATM machine at any local bank is typically not managed by the bank itself. The ATM machine is completely and typically entirely managed by an outside company that is not the bank. A courier service will come to that ATM and they will pick up the money at night, put it in a bag, put it in an armored truck, or sometimes not even, and they will drive away, and then they will go to a fulfillment center, and they will make all the deposits, cash or otherwise. And then at the end of the day, they will see a discrepancy between the amount of cash that went in versus the amount of cash that's on the ledger, and they will seek to find where that belongs. Sometimes it can take more than a day, but typically it's usually resolved in 24 hours. Now, in this particular case, Florida Credit Union or whatever is not a national bank. The systems are probably not as efficient as they would be for a normal banking institution. And again, I don't know every single detail of the story, but I just listened to what she said. And long story short, she came into the bank the next day and she started acting erratic. And she started freaking out and screaming and hollering. And obviously this is telling the story from her side of view, but she was like freaking out in this bank branch, suggesting that for some reason that they were doing this to her on purpose. When I've worked in a bank before, and if somebody starts to make a scene and get erratic, you need to calm that person down and you need to get that situation sorted because you don't know what's happening next. There's not a metal detector to walk into most banks. Even though this lady is an elderly grandmother, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have a strap. And it doesn't mean she doesn't have a strap because of her color. It just means because she's a human person that's acting erratically in the bank. And if this person starts to freak out and make a scene, not only is it uncomfortable and not safe for the other patrons of the establishment, but it can cause a lot of problems going down the line. So she suggested that she started basically freaking out in this bank and going absolutely nuts. And then they were like, yo, if you don't calm down, we're going to have to call the police, lady. Like, you need to stop freaking out. And in a lot of cases, if you reason with the bank, they will be willing to do things like make you a provisional credit for that money. If you have a long-standing relationship with that bank, they'll be willing to issue a provisional credit for the amount of money that was deposited into that ATM, and the problem could have been resolved. But instead, this lady decided to freak out even when there was the presence of a police officer. The police officer apparently came in, and this is her words. This is her angle of the story. Where she's like, the officer came in and was like, do you have a firearm? And she was like, no, I don't have a firearm. I would have a firearm. And he was like, if you say it again, if you say that word again, like I'm going to have to take you under arrest. Because obviously this lady's probably screaming this in the bank. And if you're like gun, even if you're saying you don't have one, it's a sketchy situation for the rest of the patrons of that establishment. And they arrested her. So they arrested this woman and they took her to jail. Sorry, but if you get arrested when you are getting very clear instructions and you're acting erratic, it doesn't matter your color, your race, your gender, how old you are, it doesn't matter. If you're doing that, you go to jail the same way. That's equality. Hate to break it to you. And then when you get to the jail, it's not like they have a cell for grandmas. You go into the cell, whatever. And one of the things that she was complaining about is that one of the people had given her some outfit to wear, some type of prison jumpsuit of some sort, which seems kind of, I don't know, but maybe, I guess. And she suggested that they gave her this jumpsuit, but she didn't want to put it on because she said it was dirty or something. And they were like, all right. And she claims that she was naked in this cell and that other people, that the police officers were staring at her. This is like a larger elderly woman. And it's just like, is there any verification that that even happened? Why would they do that? To me, the story just seems wholly fabricated. And I think that this lady acted erratic, went into the bank, screamed, got irrational, made a scene with the police officer present, and she got herself arrested and brought herself to jail. And what I want to reiterate is that, again, for the 50,000th time, there's no justifying police brutality. Everybody understands that. There is no justifying it. There's no justifying mistreating people. We're all on the same page. There's no person out there that's like, yeah, police brutality. But the common denominator of all of these situations, which could avoid so much, it doesn't matter your color, your race, your gender, what you look like, who you are, or what you did. If you simply comply and follow the directions of a uniformed officer of the law, the probability of you having any of these incidents decreases significantly. And while everybody, like Benjamin Crumpets, screams and gaslights you about how the system is so bad, The vast majority of these cases, if the people simply complied, didn't talk back, put their hands behind their back, didn't run away, and this is not for every situation, just most of them, those people would be alive, those people would likely be uninjured, those people would likely have gotten out and been just fine. But as a result, instead of actually holding people accountable for their own actions and the way that they behave when they're being lawfully detained by a representative of the people, a lot of these things could be saved. But instead, these people have to act irrational. It causes them great harm. Unfortunately, in certain cases, it costs them their life. And then as a result, Benjamin Crumpets can fly in out of a bush and open up his purse and demand that he secures the bag and get this big payday for the family, like that is actually going to do anything or solve anything. But what would be really helpful for people to understand is that a lot of the problems in our modern society are created by big government itself and the collateral damage that happens as a result of these policies that are put in place by them that cause way more harm than good. So somebody said on TikTok, countless times they are being unlawfully detained. I mean, I can't think of any instances off the top of my head where people are being unlawfully detained. So if you can cite some of the countless times where people are being unlawfully detained, that would be helpful. Somebody on TikTok said minimum wage $0. I still stand behind that position. I do think the minimum wage should be $0, but people get very upset when I say that because they're upset because they don't understand free market capitalism or or how things are priced. Yeah, that day in January, nobody really is too concerned with that. Somebody said this Republican is voting blue with pride. Not really too sure what that means, but okay. But yeah, like the welfare state and a lot of the government programs are largely responsible. The war on drugs, all these things. It's like these were policies that were put in by big government. This is what created a lot of the unrest in the inner cities, in the lower and middle class communities. Like government policy, big government policy created a lot of these problems in the first place. So if it were not for large government, then these situations would have largely been avoided. And at least in the case, the most recent one of the Tyree Nichols situation, it's like if you had more qualified police officers or better trained police officers that weren't hired in a rush to meet some quota, it's highly improbable that that would have happened to Tyree Nichols. So it's like, there you go. There's your big equal equity government backfiring right away. Somebody said you should get $0 with all your fancy toys. I don't really know what that means. I should get $0 if I don't provide value to the marketplace. Yes. Yeah, the cure. Patriot Girl says the cure is worse than the problem. That is correct. Because it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's like, you know, like affirmative action, for example, sending kids to college based on their race. It's like that artificially suppresses Asian people who traditionally test higher and score higher on all of these scores. So Asian people have a tougher time getting into Harvard than a person of color because they have to meet some quota. It's unfair to the Asian people. You shouldn't be basing admissions to a college campus or anything based on people's race. You don't even out the playing field. That's not how that works. So it's like the government comes in, they instill all these programs that everybody thinks are going to be great, and then they don't work. There's videos online of Gavin Newsom of California, Gavin Mussolini, the heavily greased sun god of San Francisco, saying 20 years ago how he's like, food can help hunger and houses can help homelessness. And it's like, these people have been fighting homelessness and it's the worst now than it's ever been. They lie right to your face, but people just don't understand. They don't take into consideration what's actually happening. Somebody says, what about the white kid that got jumped? That's right. It was a white 9-year-old girl, I think, on a school bus that got beaten up by a bunch of kids. But nobody cares about that because it doesn't fit the narrative, because the media is bought and paid for and a bunch of liars. Someone on TikTok said, you talk like a Republican. How are you trained to talk around? I don't really know what that means. Somebody said on TikTok, so how do you solve homelessness? Okay. So this assumes that homelessness can be solved, which I don't believe that it can. I think a lot of people choose homelessness on their own, whether it be by not going and working, not developing skills, being lazy, being addicted to drugs, or having other mental problems. So I think that some homelessness is by choice. I think that if you were to walk down the street and ask a bunch of homeless people, I would say some of them are by choice. I think that mental health programs would be very, very helpful. I think that helping people get back on their feet with jobs would be very helpful. But certainly giving them free heroin needles and giving them a free hotel for a week is not going to help them. Inexpensive housing is not going to help them. Law and order would help them. And all the money that they're pretending that they're investing into helping the homeless actually just goes to their rich donors and the companies that supply these supposedly affordable housing units that ultimately get trashed. So I think that the cure to homelessness is jobs. And one of the great ways to give people more jobs is to not have such a high minimum wage. And people don't understand that. It's like if you were able to lower the minimum wage, for example, or if you were able to hire a person for $10 an hour instead of $15 an hour or whatever, and one of these people were to take that position because they don't have the skills necessary to make the 15, then I think that more of those people would work. I think that capitalism solves homelessness more often than not, and I think that giving people the ability to independently earn their own living would likely solve a lot of the homelessness problems. But it's like you're asking me the question like I could solve it in one sentence. But certainly not letting them live in a tent on the side of the street. That is not helping them. Somebody said, how is Biden not held accountable? He claims he's not responsible for inflation. He inherited it. Yeah, I mean, you could say that a lot of money was printed under Donnie Ballpark. There's no denying that. There's no denying that there's been more money printed in the last 3 years than in any series of 3 years in the history of time. They are printing money to an extravagant degree. But as far as the inheriting inflation, yeah, you could say that he inherited some inflation, but they're continuing to squander money at such a high clip that when you spend all this money into the economy that gets created out of thin air, and then you spend all this money overseas, it certainly does not help the inflation. So yes, Donnie is partly responsible for inflation. There's no denying that, but you can't say that they are not recklessly spending. To be honest, Donnie recklessly spent as well, but he's spending a lot more. So like, two wrongs don't make a right. They're both reckless, but just the problem is not left or right. The problem is just big government in general. And it would be really helpful if people, instead of thinking Biden or Donnie, would just please realize that big, bloated, overspending, needlessly squandering government is the problem. It's not right or left. Yeah, stopping us from drilling on our own oil raises the prices of lots of things. So that's certainly partly responsible as well. Glenny Trade says Biden lowered the deficit by 40%. No, he did not lower the deficit by 40%. A deficit means you're paying back the loans. He may have lowered the additional spending by 40%, but that's on the heels of the Corona clap, and all of the excess spending that was happening there. So he may have dropped it 40%, but he didn't reduce the deficit. He says he reduces the deficit, but spending less is different than reducing the deficit. Paying back existing debts is different than spending less. That's not reducing the deficit. So that is a lie. He did not lower the deficit by 40%. It's not a fact. The deficit would mean that he's paying off existing debt. People are saying, yeah, the debt went up under Donnie. Yeah, the debt goes up under every American president. So yes, the debt went up under Donnie. He also had to shut the entire country down, which I disagree with anyways. That was a bad idea. But again, it's like, yeah, he paid 40% of the deficit. Like, is that why the national debt keeps going up? He dropped the deficit by 40%. He'd have to pay $15 billion, $10 billion than that. Somebody said, what's it like being less than 5'10"? I'm actually 4'7", and that's height discrimination. So please do not say that to me. That's disgusting and mean. I'm 4'10" on a good day when I bring my stilts. Somebody says, stop reducing the taxes on billionaires. Reducing taxes on billionaires is not how it works. They don't just reduce taxes on billionaires. They reduce taxes on everybody. And as a result of reducing taxes on everybody, people that have more money, that pay more money in taxes, receive a higher benefit. In the same way that they spend more money on taxes, there being a reduction in tax liability or tax responsibility means that they benefit more. But that's the nature of the game. You can't say, oh, let's count them out. That's not fair. And people just also don't understand that billionaires got rich by providing, the vast majority of them, by providing products and services to people that people chose to purchase with their own free will. A billionaire doesn't just become a billionaire. They produce products and services that many people used for a higher quality of life. That's how they got rich. That's how people get rich. And one of the other lies that, that the ghost of Joey Depends has been squealing about lately, these headphones hurt my ears so much. One of the other lies that Depends Joe's been squealing about lately is he's like, Republicans want to increase the taxes, want to impose a new 30% tax or something like that on purchases, but they also want to eliminate the income tax. I personally think that a flat tax on expenses would be better for the country as a whole. I think that the income tax is unconstitutional, and I do think that the income tax should go away. You shouldn't be punished by form of taxes for earning more money. You should just be paying commensurate to what you choose to consume. Thank you guys for buying the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate that. Somebody said we have a flat tax. Where do we have a flat tax? Where is it flat? Excuse me. Thank you, Jen Lisa 80, S Lucas 0510, Patriot Girl, La Papaya STJ, Moosey Mom, Andrea VG, and Jiminy's Juniper for the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. The middle class and the poor pay much higher tax rates than millionaires and billionaires. Again, and look, I think that our tax code is actually fairly reasonable, but I don't believe that is actually accurate, that the middle class and the poor pay much higher tax rates. I mean, millionaires and billionaires in some cases pay 40 up to 50% of their income. A lot of people that make under 40% of American households pay no taxes at all. 40% of American households pay no federal income taxes at all. So it's like, I mean, I really just don't think that that's accurate. A lot of wealthy people pay a tremendous amount of money in taxes. And again, for the 50 billionth time, people need to understand that we do not have a taxation problem. We have a spending problem. It's very simple. We spend too much money on a bunch of garbage that backfires. It's not a taxation problem. It's not like, oh, if we only tax people more, then it will solve our problem. It's like, we sent $100 billion to Prezi Green sweatshirt. It's like, there's your $100 billion. Like, do you not understand how many things they're squandering your money on? If we had a taxation problem, it's like, we would not be doing that. We have a spending problem. We are making plenty of money in taxes. We just squander money needlessly overseas and on a variety of useless government programs that backfire. And then meanwhile, the exact same demons that purport to represent us, lie and gaslight us and then sell us out. Yeah, Prezi green sweatshirt. Super demon. Yeah, and someone said on Facebook, wealthy people pay the majority of taxes in this country. And yes, that's right. The government spends too much money. We have a spending problem, not a taxation problem. It's like these people are already spending so much money. And then when you say this, people are like, you're shilling for millionaires and billionaires. And it's like, yo, tell me you don't think that you have the capacity to be a millionaire without telling me, It's like, you don't believe in yourself. You like pointing your target at somebody that's been more successful than you because you're mad, you're jealous, and you don't understand. If you work that hard to be a millionaire or a billionaire, and then some goon that is making $23,000 a year that's squealing about how bad they got it when they're not paying any taxes at all, where they're paying next to nothing, sitting on the couch all day, they're going to squeal at me, and I employ 5,000 people, and I'm paying an outrageous amount of money in taxes, property taxes, income taxes, all this stuff, investment, giving people jobs, all the rest, health insurance and all this, competing, dealing with supply chain issues and moving goalposts and red tape. And then some blue-haired blob that's like watching Netflix on their $1,000 iPhone and collecting food stamps and Section 8 and squealing about how bad it is for them. It's like, you're sucking more off the system than they are. Like, they don't use the roads 10 times as much, 50 times as much. And you better believe that the trucks that are running their businesses that are using those roads, they're paying for all that. They're paying through all that through gas taxes, brakes, tires, trucking, employees. It's like people don't understand business. They don't understand basic economics. And then you have these seed oil boys on TikTok squealing about how Prezi sweatshirt deserves more of our money and only slow Byron can make such a great economy. It's like, dude, like, have you ever paid a paycheck to an employee? But they'll just like let you in their debate chat and then gaslight you and then squeal over a bag of Doritos while they're sipping like a high fructose corn syrup soda pop. And then like some dweeb is in the box in the corner like, that's not true. And it's just like, yo, it's like, you guys are giving me Steven Glansberg at the lunch table energy, Big Glansberg vibes. Elon paid zero taxes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Elon paid zero taxes. He just has a Gulfstream jet. Yeah, it's like Elon pays more in taxes. Elon literally is the highest taxpayer in American history. In 2021, Elon Musk paid more in taxes than any American citizen in history. Yet this completely brainwashed person, this literal AI, in the chat on TikSnap is like, Elon paid zero taxes. He literally paid more taxes than any American citizen in history. Like, you're not on this planet, dog. Like, did he already send you to Mars? What are you doing? Elon paid zero. What is wrong with you? Sponsored by Faisal. God. Sources? Source? Where's the source? I don't know. I made it up. Sources. Sources. Google it. Give it a goog. Give it a gagal. Literally gagal it, maybe. Go to DuckDuck. Give it a gagal. Maybe gagal. Try gagaling it. Maybe use gagal. I don't know. Elon. All right. Yeah. Elon sold a tremendous amount of Tesla shares in order to pay for his purchase of Twitter. Do you not think that he paid capital gains tax on those shares that he sold? that he could have just as easily not sold? What do you think? He just did that for free? If I sold one share of my Verizon stock right now, I would pay capital gains. But Elon Musk sold $10 billion of the Tesla stock for free. Elon pays no taxes. Says the Chat GPT TikTok user upside down giraffe 775. Elon. It's like, what? Just because Pete Buttigieg said that on MSNBC doesn't mean it's true. Sources? It's like, what is wrong with you? Capital gains is totally different. Totally different than what? Capital gains is taxes. Those are called taxes. But yeah, I guess he just did it for free. Sources? Excuse me, sources? Yes, Elon paid more in taxes than any American citizen in U.S. history. Elon paid no taxes. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess he didn't. You're right. People are saying he didn't pay a specific tax. Yeah, and again, your job as a person that obtains any degree of success is to try to find the least tax liability that you are legally responsible for. There's nothing altruistic about paying more money in taxes. No one's going to think you're cool because you paid more money than you owed. You're not helping anybody by doing that. It's a complete and total illusion. There's nothing altruistic, there's nothing cool, there's nothing nice, there's nothing friendly about paying more taxes than you are legally obligated to pay. Your job as a business owner, as a successful person, is to try to figure out how to reduce your tax liability legally as much as humanly possible. People that don't do that are not making a lot of money. I didn't do that until I started to make enough money that I was like, what can I do? And then you hire an accountant. And the accountant, you pay thousands of dollars to try to figure out where you can fix your tax liability to the lowest legal amount. That's what you do as a business owner. That's what you do as an independent person that's trying to accumulate wealth. Because I shouldn't drink bubbly things before I come on here. When you accumulate wealth, when you accumulate money, what do you do when you pay less money in taxes? I'll tell you what you do, because what smooth brains think you do is they think you hoard it. All these people hoarding money, they're hoarding it, which is literally not a thing. They're hoarding it. Hoarding money or saving money, putting it in your mattress, is a bad strategy because of inflation. Inflation is so high right now that if you took $100 or $1,000 or $100,000 and you put it in the bank or you put it in your mattress and you hoarded it, as they like to say, it would be objectively losing 7% a year just from inflation alone. So hoarding money is bad for you. What a wealthy person does when they save money on their tax liability is they redeploy that capital into new investments so that they can make more money. They take that money and they improve the quality of their house. They perhaps buy a larger truck to service their customers. They buy a bigger warehouse. They increase the rent that they pay for their warehouse. They buy more marketing dollars. They invest in more systems. They do more events or trade shows. They invest the capital that they save back into growing their business. That's how rich people get richer. That's how you build wealth. You save capital and then you deploy capital to bring more capital back in. You don't hoard it. No one hoards money. And also, there's no such thing as hoarding money. The only people that say that rich people are hoarding money are people that don't have a lot of money, because they don't understand how money works. And if they understood how money works, they wouldn't even say hoarding money, because that's not a thing. That's what people in college say, because their professor is an upside down grasshopper with a ponytail down to his ankles that doesn't know anything about anything. And you're learning about entrepreneurship from a guy that works in a college teaching entrepreneurship instead of being an entrepreneur. He's not out there entrepreneuring. He's in there teaching you for $63,000 a year and being squirrely. But yeah, I guess he knows about business. Sure. He like somersaults out of his Ford Festiva and teaches entrepreneurship classes when he's never started a business in his life. He's an upside down grasshopper and he doesn't know anything about anything. It's like, my professor. And it's like, why do you think these kids in college are so clueless? Because you're being indoctrinated every single day for 50 clips a year. You're being indoctrinated and they're just like, yeah, my professor says. And it's just like, cool. Unless your professor owns a business, I don't know, man. Probably shouldn't listen to him. Because college teaches you how to be an employee. College teaches you how to be a good little worker bee. Just go to work and gather all your money, gather all your requirements, and fill out a good resume and go to work like a good little boy and show up on time and don't get written up and clock in and clock out and clock in and clock out. And maybe in 10 years you'll get brought up to vice president of Grasshopper Studies. You'll become the vice manager of Tadpole organization or whatever. And then when you turn 65, you can go die. It's like it teaches you how to be a NPC. The vast majority of the time. And they're like, my professor on upside down dance theory says, and it's just like, maybe don't listen to that guy. I don't know. And then they're like, why am I broke? I don't know, because you're learning nothing from somebody that did nothing. It's like, I'm an intersectional tadpole. I'm upside down. I love how people are saying that in the comments. I'm an intersectional tadpole. Says the guy on TikTok who can barely speak coherently. So barely. Yeah, barely coherent. Oh, no. I'll work on how coherent I am. Thank you for the comment. My professor said not to trust you. Hell yeah. Good. Don't trust me. I'm not suggesting that you trust me. I'm suggesting that you trust nobody but yourself, Jim. People think I'm telling them to listen to me and not their professor. No, you should listen to yourself. You should do your own research. Oh, wait, doing your own research is bad, apparently. A college professor teaches them socialism. That is correct. Seriously, STEM programs work? Yeah, I mean, there's a need for college. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of college programs that are good. If you're learning science, for example, yeah, college is probably good for you. If you're learning how to be an engineer, a structural engineer, yeah, college, probably beneficial. If you're going to be an electrician or someone in a trade, yeah, probably very good. An architect, yeah, probably very helpful. But if you're going to school for liberal arts or poetry or puppetry or, non-binary dance theory, then, maybe don't do that. If you're going to college for entrepreneurship, also bad idea. If you're going to school for web design, web development, also bad idea. If you're going for programming, yeah, maybe not. You could probably learn to program in a lot of other ways that you don't need to pay some college to teach you how to do it yesterday's way. Examine each new idea. Don't outsource your understanding of the world to an external source. Yeah, exactly. Somebody called a guy in the chat a white hero. Dude, what is wrong with you? Like, these people, they're melted on the inside. It's like, not everything is based on the color of your skin. Like, you need to get out of your victimhood mentality. It's sad. I'm upset. The only thing that I can see is what you look like. That's all that matters. The only thing that matters is what the television tells me to be mad at. It's like, dude. Yeah, college just teaches you how to be an employee the vast majority of the time, and it's sad because it kills your entrepreneurial or independent spirit. Yeah, and like, thanks, Patriot Girl, appreciate that. And like, you know, I went to when I was in high school, I went to a community college for web development. I wanted to build websites. I wanted to be a web developer. And I went to this college class, and it was a community college. And I took classes on multimedia authoring, digital publishing, and essentially like web design, graphic design. And what I taught myself at home using Google and YouTube and just basic web searches and following along trial and error myself, I was using this program called Macromedia Dreamweaver MX and the Adobe Photoshop suite of software. What I knew about photo editing and digital publishing was far beyond, I was 14, was far beyond what anybody in this college class was doing. And I finished all the homework ahead of everybody. I got better grades than most of the kids in the class, if not every kid in the class. I finished first 99 times out of 100 when there was in-class work to do, and I was ripping through the stuff. And the reason that I did that is because I was going at my own pace of something that I wanted to do, and I was learning through the internet, which was the most readily available and current information. People, including myself, we were reading steps out of a book where it wasn't teaching us how to do it. It was just teaching us how to follow steps necessary to get to that conclusion. So it took somebody an hour to do something that I know how to do faster without the steps. And I was learning how to do something that had already been made irrelevant by the marketplace. The fast pace of information moving means that what you're learning that's in a book that there's a course curriculum based on is already out of date by the time it gets to the point where you're in that course. They're not writing a new curriculum every year. It's every 2 years, 3 years. And the pace that internet authoring and digital publishing moves at, the game keeps changing. So I was in there getting a college credit for something that was learning the old way to do it. And I was like, this is dumb. So I used those college credits. I brought them over to college. I was in college for a year and a half. And I was like, this is not helping me. I'm not going to learn how to run a business like this. I'm not going to learn how to build websites like this. I'm not going to learn anything about anything. All I'm going to learn, I need to take Econ 101 at 7 o'clock in the morning with some guy who I can barely understand and read some overpriced book that's boring and black and white. When I learned more about economics by caring about it on my own and managing my own money later in life, it's like they just teach you how to pass the test. They just teach you how to recite the data. They don't teach you what it is, what it means, or why. Like the whole education system is upside down and backwards. And as a result, people are stupid, which is why more large-scale companies are taking away the requirement that people have a bachelor's degree to work there. Professor Grasshopper told me to be mad at your appearance. That's pretty funny. So it's like people, like the solution to pretty much all of your problems now until forever is to just do research, work on things that you care about that mean a lot to you, work really hard, get better at it because you want to get better at it. And don't listen to any of these demons that are out to sell you something or get you to do something. It's not helpful. Somebody said scrape off gum off the floor and go from there. That's right. So the other night on TikTok, I told a story. Somebody accused me of like being born into money or getting all this money from somebody else. And they were like, how did you get money? And it's like, I used to scrape gum off the floor of a grocery stores at night. It wasn't my only job. It was one of a number of jobs that I had. I would get picked up at my house at 11:30 p.m. And at midnight, I would get to the grocery store with this guy that I worked for, and he would pay me in cash, and I would sweep the floor with a big broom, and then I would get on my knees and scrape the gum off the floor of the grocery store. And I did that when I was 20 or 19 for $15 an hour. It was hard work, and it taught me a lot about life. And people are out here like, yeah, just do that. It's like, yeah, just do that. That's what you should do. You should stop being a victim and sitting on TickSnap and go work. Go do something. Go get a job. Stop being a victim. Find a way to make money. Deliver Uber Eats. Like, what's wrong with you? People are such victims. I was an overnight grocery cashier. That's what's up. Yeah, exactly. It teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you what you're not willing to do and what you're willing to do to succeed. You know why I scraped the gum off the floor at night? Because I was building my web development business during the day. That's what I did. I'm not trying to get pity. I'm just saying that's what I did. Sorry. Eric made a funny comment on Facebook, but I can't share it because it's not good, but it's funny. Somebody on Facebook said, part of your problem is you're trying to attempt to make dumb people not make dumb decisions, and you can't fix stupid, so it's not worth trying. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't think that I'm trying to make dumb people not make dumb decisions. I don't think people are inherently dumb. I think that people choose to be dumb more often than not by being lazy and just not having drive. So I believe that if they made their way to this content, whether they did it out of anger or otherwise, perhaps someone can get through to them. Because people who you really can't get through to, they're watching The Real Housewives of Miami or something right now. They're not watching this. Even if they're angry, they're still getting something from it. They're still hearing a little bit of something. Con said, education system is broken, yet we still throw tons of money at it as it gets worse. Exactly. They throw money at things as a supposed solution, yet it doesn't solve anything. It causes more problems than it pretends to solve. Dave says, you don't choose to be dumb. I mean, I think sometimes you do choose to be dumb by not choosing to be smart. You can learn, and look, smart has you can be smart in a lot of different ways. And it can get you really far in life. So one thing that's smart would be having good work ethic. So I think if people choose to be lazy, then they choose to be dumb. So, yeah. Someone said Donnie loves the uneducated. Yeah, I mean, again, Donnie lives rent-free in your head. Obviously, no one's talking about Donnie. The only thing that anybody can ever think about is Donnie. Donnie literally haunts their dreams. They wake up at night in a pool of sadness and tears, and they're like, Donnie? But yeah, I mean, if you want to keep bringing Donnie into the situation, honestly, it's like it says more about you than it says about somebody that likes Donnie. I've made my position about him clear in a number of occasions, but nobody cares because they associate anybody that points out how the left, generally speaking, is wrong about 99% of things, in my opinion. They're like, what do you like, Donnie? It's like, no, you just don't get it, but okay. The programming is strong. Yeah, I do find it, I think that, if we were to find a solution to a lot of the world's problems, I think that there's a lot of people that just don't pay attention enough. There's some like pseudo-intellectual TikTok types that will live stream for 8 hours that will squeal all of the charts that they find and all of the pre-approved narratives that get served to them by the establishment, and they'll try to be like snarky and condescending to you because it gives them a false sense of power that they were never able to obtain in the real life on their own by just like being cool or likable or healthy, and I think that those people are probably well-informed, but probably misinformed. But who I'm trying to reach is the people that care, but not really enough, that don't really care enough to pay attention, but can see that things are bad or getting bad or whatever, and I believe generally that those people could be convinced to start paying more attention. And I think that if they were better educated and paid more attention, they would see things from the free market, capitalism, smaller government perspective. They'd be like, yeah, we should pay less taxes. Yeah, we should keep more of our money. Yeah, the government should get out of our way. Yeah, like The family and parents should have rights. Yeah, you should teach kids math, science, and reading, writing, and arithmetic, and not all the other stuff. Oh, it's not real. It's only in colleges, says the person that watches CNN. Just a reminder, if you're on TikTok and you don't already follow me, hit the button and follow. If you're on Instagram and you don't already follow me, hit the button right there and make sure that you follow me. Thoughts on the iPhone update and the new wallpaper for Black History Month? I don't use an iPhone as my everyday phone. That is an iPhone, my other phone, my TikTok phone. But I don't really use it for anything other than streaming on TikTok. So I don't know anything about the iPhone update. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was not good. Somebody user 5777. I'm not going to respond to anybody that has a user 57. I'm not going to respond to a fake person. So yeah, and like, what's my take on Thrive On? I don't know what that is. But yeah, guys, there's a spy balloon. We're inciting a hot war with a nuclear power. It's all good, guys. The economy's good. But yeah, give the kids the meds. Just stop it right in its tracks. I don't want my Pen 15 anymore. Okay, well, when you get old enough, you can get rid of it. And for now, take all these pharmaceutical pills. And then you can be whatever you want. Everything is magic. All you have to do is say, I'm this. And then get a surgery where you shave down your jawbone and cut and you shave your Adam's apple and sure, wear the dress, I guess. I find it fascinating. So like, I've been consuming more stuff on TikTok as I've been trying to understand and learn the platform. I've been spending more time there because it's just very weird and dark and sketchy. But one thing I find so crazy about it is like people are glorifying, like they glorify body modification so much on there. It's scary. It's like you got 20-year-old girls getting lip filler and getting like breast implants and getting cheek filler and all this stuff. And then they're using all these filters and like, it's just so dark. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong message, but I don't like how lip fillers look. I don't like how Botox looks on females. I just don't think it's the vibe, but it's like, it seems like every influencer on there, they're like, yep, lip filler, breast implants, this. It's like, geez, dude. It's like, you're beautiful like you are. You know? I don't know. Maybe change what you can change through exercise and fitness and whatever, and then do the best with what you got. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I just feel like it glorifies it. And I feel like a young, impressionable 8-year-old girl is like, I need to contour and I need makeup and I need all this stuff. And I just think it's sad. The State of the Union is tomorrow at 9 p.m. I will be live streaming on Instagram. I might live stream on TikTok too. I never take my TikTok phone down and do that, but maybe I'll do it for TikTok too. I'll have to set it up. I'll have to figure out how to do that. BBLs, yeah. It's just weird. And then there's this video that went viral like a couple weeks ago of this girl that that was working as a stripper, and she was counting how much money she made for the week, and she counted Monday twice. And people were like making fun of her about how she counted Monday twice or whatever. But she made however much. And it's like, you look at the comments and people are like, how much did you make? And it's like, now all these girls are like, yeah, I'll just do that. Or I'll just start an OnlyFans. And it's like, dude, it's just sad. It's dark. It makes me, I feel bad for young, impressionable women out there that they're just like, yeah, I'll just sell a picture of my clam for $5.99 a month. It's like, okay. I don't know. It just seems so weird to me. I'm not throwing shade on anybody that does OnlyFlams, but I don't know. Seems kind of not good. State of the Union is going to be from a hot air balloon. That's correct. Joey Basement. Donnie is retruthing Q stuff on Truth Social. Jeez. That's not good. I don't know. Donnie he's doing some weird things these days. Not sure how I feel about it. Really, I just feel like we really can't trust much of anybody anymore, which is sad. From a hot air balloon? Yes, that's what someone said. Queefanon is realer than Joey Beans. That's pretty funny. Probably true. Yeah, somebody on TikTok is like, this is a waste of time. Yeah, I mean, sorry that you feel that way. Have you messed with Midjourney yet? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. So, again, tomorrow at 8:50 Eastern Time, I will be live streaming the State of the Union on Instagram. These are usually some well-attended events, so watch the State of the Union with me tomorrow. 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. The State of the Union starts at 9. It will likely be a fun time. Any more guesses on what Joey will say? Like I said, Brittany Griner, Tyree Nichols, equity, climate, 100%, all those things will be brought up. The jobs report, the fact that the economy is turning around, the State of the Union is strong. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Jill's going to be wearing a blue dress with yellow flowers, and it's going to look terrible. And everything's going to be dumb. I think that police brutality and systemic racism will be in it a lot. I anticipate that it will be highly focused on the economy, systemic racism, and Putin, and how we have to quash Putin, and how Zelensky is doing such a good job, and how, you know, our wonderful cabinet people like Pete Buttigieg is just doing so good. And half of the women in my cabinet are women. And you know the thing. So I think it's going to be all those things, and it's going to be real dumb and not good at all by any stretch of the imagination. All right. That's all for me. Thanks so much for the donations on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the badges. Dave Brown, Don't DLY, Jen Lisa 80S Lucas, Patriot Girl, La Papaya, Moosey Mom, Andrea VG, and Jiminy's Juniper. Thank you so much for the badges on Instagram, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Instagram, thanks so much for being here. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, peace out. Thanks for coming. Go to BobbySauceShow.com and leave a review. Go to BobbySauce.com to grab the shirt, Secret Sauce Society, or go get the based hat at BobbySauce.com if you can. I will see you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Everything's dumb. The world's on fire. 8:50 p.m. Eastern. State of the Garbage. Everything's stupid.